Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Alex Review Channel, where we're going to review our third Tenways bike next. All right, so we've reviewed the 800, the 660, and now the AGOT.
This is our third.
But it's not the AGOT. It's not another Game of Thrones. It's AGOT.
Yes, and I am sad to say that I don't know what that stands for.
I'm going to just say, I think I would, if you're just trying to sum this up, I would call this a relaxed road bike or a relaxed cruiser.
I would say that this is highfalutin technology at a really good, decent price.
Okay. Mine rolls off the tongue easier, but I got you. I got you. What's nice, first of all, is it doesn't look like an e-bike, right? They've got a small 504 watt-hour battery, and so they were able to get it in a nice small frame. So I think most of your friends would be fooled into thinking this was a regular bike. Step-through frame, which is always nice and comfy, but I think the piece de resistance is right in here in the drivetrain, where we've got a Bafang motor.
Yes, it's a Trio de Resistance. It is a Bafang motor, a Gates belt drive, followed up by an Involio CVT.
Yeah, now it looks like a hub motor, but it's not.
It's not. It is a continuously variable transmission. This, I know only 2% of you are going to get this, but basically there's two things that are kind of shaped like this, and you can adjust how far apart they are. It's basically a way to adjust the gear of the bike without gears.
Oh, okay, so that's what this is up here.
Yes, so you can adjust kind of like you would a gear, but it doesn't go clink or clunk, and it's just continuously variable transmission. I hope this makes sense. What it basically means is that this allows you to have a belt drive, which normally would mean that it can't change gears.
Oh, right, you're stuck with one gear.
Because normally to change gears, you need a chain. So you have a belt drive, and then you have a way to gear the bike. So you can change the gearing to go uphill, and so you'll pedal, less hard, but more frequently to go slower uphill. And then you can change it for flat ground. And the coolest part, I think, is the Involio it's not a screen, it's an analog thing that shows what
it reminded me of Fallout. It has that feel to it.
Kind of. I mean, it's almost more clever than that because it's not using anything digital or even analog. It's
right.
Just plastic.
And in fact, the whole thing, you can be doing that gear change while you're riding without the power on if you want to.
Yes, this is the highfalutin technology part of it to me. You're not only getting an e-bike, you're getting just a completely new drivetrain that you've probably never seen before.
Yeah, and so if you're like, what are you talking about, mid-motor, hub drive? Mid-motor is kind of like the highest level. It makes you feel like you really are at one with the bike.
Because there's two ways to do it, right? You can have the motor in one of two, maybe three places. You can have it right where you're pedaling, which is mid-drive. You could have it on the rear, which is hub. If you have it on the hub, that means that it's kind of like there's somebody behind you pedaling, and they don't necessarily know what you're doing, and you don't necessarily know what they're doing. Having a mid-drive means that the motor is helping you pedal. And with the torque sensing, it means that it just feels like you're way better at pedaling than you actually are.
Yeah, you get on the bike and you're like, wow, I guess I'm in shape.
Yes.
Even if you're not.
And so it's a really amazing feeling. And the price point of this bike is insane that they're able to bring you not only mid-drive, which, there are companies that will bring you a mid-drive motor and torque sensing, but also the belt and the CVT. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah. And so use our link if you're interested in checking out more, because you're going to get some of the best pricing that way. But again, we don't care what the manufacturer tells us. We care about what we think. And just because this is our third time working with Tenways, it's not because they paid us or anything like that. We have just liked to check out their bikes. And again, I am increasingly impressed by their bikes. So let's talk about, so you got the Bafang 420 250 watt motor, and you might be like, 250 watts? Hang on, guys. That doesn't sound like a lot. You've reviewed stuff with 750 watts.
And here is again where having the CVT is really nice. The 250 watts is at the crank. So you're getting 250 watts helping you along. Some of the most powerful bicyclists in the world, the ones who have crazy calves that are like bigger than my bicep, and my bicep is not a lot to shake at. Anyway, what I'm saying is some of the best bicyclists in the world can only keep up about 350 watts. So you have a really decent bicyclist sitting basically in your crankshaft ready to help you out.
And with torque drive, you start to push and it senses what you're putting in, and it
practically
follows
immediately.
Yeah.
So it's sensing the actual torque that's being applied, and that torque is what tells the motor what to do.
As opposed to cadence sensing, which just kind of goes by the speed with which you're pedaling, and it doesn't feel very natural. It's very jerky.
So there's no ghost pedaling on this bike. I mean, once you get up to speed, and if you're going downhill, you could do some ghost pedaling.
But I do want to say, so the reason I said relaxed bike is generally that means you're going under 20 miles an hour. This bike tops out at 20 miles an hour. You can pedal faster and keep going beyond that, but the motor won't give you anything beyond that. So if you know that you're kind of a 22, 28 mile an hour bicyclist, this bike's not for you.
Yeah.
It's more for relaxed riding. The other thing we want to talk about, it's got 2-inch tires, so 28-inch wheels, 60/61 aluminum rims, but 2-inch tires, which I think are great for most uses, is only going to help you on roads. We tested it on gravel. No, don't do that. We tested on sand.
No.
Don't do that. It's for really clear roads. So if you are a relaxed road driver, I really think this could be a possibility, especially city relaxed road driving.
Yes.
All right, so it's got integrated headlight, which is awesome. It's got an integrated rear light. It's not a brake light. It's always on, but makes you very visible, which is nice. Got a nice, comfortable, kind of swept back mid-sweep handlebar. Really cool LCD screen here in color that gives you pretty much everything you need, including, I learned, turn-by-turn directions if you pair it with the app. So if you're going somewhere, you can tell it to pair, and then it'll show you right there, oh, I need to take a left.
I do have to add a caveat to this. It will probably only take you on roads
that it knows about.
So, your favorite cut through the gas station and then through, 6 backyards like Ferris Bueller, and then, down some kind of bike path and a service road.
More of a city then.
It would be great in New York City, although it probably wouldn't tell you to take any alleys. Right. And this is like kind of the stuff you'd want to do. So, be thinking about that. It's not how your brain would necessarily work, because again, you're on a bicycle. It's going to take you kind of like how a car would go.
So it's got a 60/61 aluminum frame, 3 colors to choose from, by the way. You can get it in the jungle green, which is glossy. You can get it in the creamy white, which is glossy, and we have it here in the matte black. So those are your 3 choices. It weighs 30 kilograms or 66 pounds, which is a good mid-weight for a bike. I mean, it's an e-bike, so it's got heft to it, but not so much. Like we have some 70 or 80 pound bikes, which are really hard to lift.
Yeah, I would say maybe you'd be able to lift it by yourself, kind of up to about this height, but two people would be a lot more comfortable. This means that probably taking it upstairs is going to be
tricky.
No,
it's not really an apartment bike.
You can remove some weight by taking the battery off and maybe even the seat if you had to, but that's not going to make the significant difference. The frame itself is rather beefy.
All right, I hear you. You're wondering about range. The manufacturer says 62 miles. I've read a lot of reviews, people saying they were getting 50 to 60 kilometers. I felt the same thing. I think that if you keep it in, there's 1 through 5 pedal assist. If you keep it in 1 and you're on flat ground, maybe you could get their range, but I kind of doubt it.
Now, I do want to say that range that most people get is not bad. It's going to be about 25-ish miles, 22-ish miles.
Right.
What I would seriously suggest doing is, because this bike is so lovely to ride, and it truly is, many e-bikes that we get, they're not great bicycles. It's great that they're e-bikes, but this is like a great bicycle all on its own. I would say plan on switching off the pedal assist during some of the easier stretches.
It's true. I was riding around a lot without pedal assist on at all, and it was fine.
I think that's a great way to extend your range, and it's a great way for you to get a little bit more of a workout. If that's what you're into, then that's what you can do. If you're like, no way, why would I buy an e-bike and not use the pedal assist? Okay, you can keep it on 1. I really didn't see much of a difference between level 1 and level 5 pedal assist.
A lot of people said that.
I think that has a lot to do with the torque sensing. There's just not too much you can do with 250 watts to play with in terms of helping you out. Because either it can be like, I'll give you 15 watts, which you're not going to notice a single difference about, or it's going to give you nothing. So I think that the pedal assist levels don't really do that much. You can probably leave it on 1 or 5. It won't make that much of a difference.
I want to talk about how quiet it is. This is, I think, the quietest e-bike we've ever reviewed, because you don't have any chain and because of the mid-motor. It's just silent.
Yes, it's very quiet. I will say, though, there still is some clicking.
True.
That's going to be the only clicking, and that's only going to be when you're not pedaling.
That's your giveaway.
That's if you were like, I need a completely silent bike, this won't be it. But it's very, very quiet. It's one of the quietest bikes we've tested.
Now, there's no thumb throttle, which is quite common on mid-motor drive bikes. So just know that if you're at an intersection and you want to do what I like to do, which is throttle through it, just know that you're not going to be able to throttle through it.
The other thing is, much like a geared bicycle, the CVT does have some adjustability while the bike is not moving.
Quite a bit, actually.
But it's not full. So right now I'm at the highest level, and if I wanted to back it off, I can get to about half. So I would say that basically you can get from, there's no numbers because it's CVT.
It's a little hill.
So it just shows a little guy on a hill, which is adorable. It's either from flat to about half hill, or from full hill down to half hill.
I don't think there's going to be much of a problem because generally you're pulling up to a stoplight or a stop sign, and generally there's not a hill right after it.
But starting out at, on flat is rather difficult.
Sure.
So I do think that it does make sense when you're pulling up to the stop sign to kind of shift to a lower gear. It's not a gear. And that's the other nice part though. If you did start off and you were in the wrong gearing, if you change it, instead of having the bike go clunk, 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 if you were going from say, 7 down to 1, this does it just, you don't feel it, nothing happens. It's just suddenly gets easier to pedal.
Yeah, so if you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, it's 100% to 310%. And so
I've never heard of gearing expressed in those terms, but that's what Tenways has given us. I don't know if that means that it's a 1-to-1 to 3.1 to 1.
I think so.
Which is a confusing way to say it as well, but...
Well, it is funny that over these years, we've just called it a 7-speed bike or a 12-speed bike, and that doesn't tell us anything either.
I would say that the gearing is similar to a 7-speed, and I guess you get more individual gears, so it's an infinite speed, but the two ends are close to a normal 7-speed.
All right, so the cool thing is you can Bluetooth this into the app, which lets you see your trips. If you keep the phone running during your trip, later you'll be able to call up your trip, which is cool. There is actually a digital lock on here. What you can do is put in a 4-digit code and lock it so that it's one more step a thief would have to go through to steal it. I don't think it's that hard to steal it. I think you should still probably lock it up.
Yes.
But if it makes you feel a little better to have that, maybe to keep your kids from riding it or something.
And you can access that through the screen. So basically when you first turn it on, it's going to ask you for a passcode. The default passcode is 000, which is very easy to enter. So I think if you live in a place where you don't expect your bike to be stolen, you could set it to that. But it would probably take, 10 seconds or so to enter if you had a different code, depending on how far away from 0 it is.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it's not like where you just hit the keypad. You have to do kind of a convoluted up and down button.
It's like if you had to tell a digital watch how to do it.
Exactly. I'm not a fan of that.
You do have an up-down button, but it's still kind of a pain.
I want to point out again that it's a step through, so you don't have to worry about this bar. I love that. Some people don't.
And a really nice step through. I mean, this is about as good a step through as you could ask for.
Yep.
It comes right down to here. There's some bikes where it comes just a little bit further, but I can slide my feet in and out. I think that would be really nice if you're an older rider and you're sick of swinging your leg over things.
I think if you're going to put a water bottle on it, you're going to have to put it up here on the handlebar, which is a shame because I don't like the extra weight on a handlebar because they haven't really given you any mounting points here. You could put it on the rear rack.
Right. The rear rack does have 25 kilograms of capacity. It's got this weird little space in between the two. I'm not sure what that's for. You could utilize it, maybe roll up some papers and stuff them in there. The rack itself, I think that if you really wanted to use it, you'd either get some kind of pannier bag.
I think that would be the best.
And there's plenty of spots to kind of strap a pannier bag, which is nice. Or you would get like a big milk crate, although you don't have as much room as some of the other bikes that we've tested. So, you'd have to experiment, come up with something that would hold what you wanted, but it's nice to have a rack as opposed to just wheels. I want to talk a little bit about the fenders.
Always nice to have fenders, but you noticed on the rear that one of them came a little twisted?
Yeah, this rear fender came, I don't know if it's bent or warped. These are nice aluminum fenders, I will say, but the way that we got it shipped, it was rubbing against the rear tire, would have popped it if I didn't adjust them. Now they are adjustable, simply these two things right here, and that allows you to have some adjustment. Same thing back here. I also had to adjust this one as well. By the way, folks, basically all of these bikes that you get are going to come with not flat tires, but don't ride on them, fill them up a little bit more to their spec. These are actually pretty high PSI. I think we filled these up to like 52 PSI. You can go as high as, I think, 65. Once they were full, both tires were rubbing against.
Oh, so you had to readjust.
I had to readjust. So that was a bit of a pain, but it's short-lived. As soon as you get, that well adjusted, then you don't have to worry about it.
I love fenders, so I just feel like without them, you're going to get
fenders keep the rain off you, they keep the dirt off you, they just make things a whole lot cleaner when it gets wet. And you might say, oh, I'll never go biking when it's rainy, but you know that in the summer, there's like a 50% chance that you're going to get caught in a rainstorm some of the time. So it's nice in that sense.
Now look, I get it. When you're buying a bike that's over $2,000, you want to make sure that you are happy with it and that there's good customer service. We only deal with the company generally as influencers. You are going to deal with them as customers. But I've read a lot of reviews, and all the people that have had problems, if something comes broken, say that they've gotten great customer service and that they've had the same person work with them throughout the whole thread. It's kind of disconcerting when you call a company and you have to talk to 12 different departments. So that's good, but I totally get it. You're getting a bike sent to you from China. And so what I like about this particular brand, Tenways, is that they seem to have been really well qualified. I mean, if you look at the quality of the build, it really does stand apart from most of the other bikes that we've done.
And this is a brand that has been around for a while, so that means that they have customers who have had problems, because if you have a bike for more than 2 years, you're probably going to have problems. And this means that if they're able to maintain their good reviews, it's really good news for us, the consumer, because that means they're probably a more reputable brand. I know that Tenways is probably not a brand that you've heard of before. You're probably used to Trek and Schwinn, but this is probably one of the better brands that we've heard of, at least from my perspective. We've heard of a lot of goofy companies though.
Another thing you could do when you get a bike like this is bring it to your local bike shop and just talk to them and see how much experience they have with e-bikes. A lot of these shops are just learning now that they should get into e-bikes, and it'd just be nice to know what things they could fix for you, what things they can't. And you might be surprised if you bring it back in a year later, maybe they'll know a whole lot more.
And you could also bring it in and just ask for a tune-up. Even the minute you get it, they can do things like, tighten some of the spokes, just get everything
running true
and perfect. Not that I think that you can't just kind of take it out of the box, pump up the tires, put the front tire on and all the different steps that you have to do and get it running. But it might make you feel a little bit better to know that they have some experience with your bike as well.
Really great wire management and cable management. It's just a little bit here in the front. Was really happy to see. These are hydraulic brakes and they worked really well front and back.
Yep.
And nice big handle grips, really comfy ones. Some of these new bikes lately have come with like little pokey, nubby things that I don't like. This was really comfortable.
Yep. And then the next part is the pedals. I really like these pedals. These are plastic pedals, and some people might go, don't you want metal? The thing that's going to hit me in the shin? No, I like these nice soft plastic pedals that don't have any kind of knurled, gnarly.
I'm a fan of that.
I totally understand if you're a mountain biker and you have your special mountain biking attire on and your special mountain biking boots or whatever you guys wear. I am a civilized human, and I really appreciate that if this is going to smash me in the shin, it's not going to hurt as bad as some kind of metal thing with a spike that impales me. Really good design there. I love that there's no clicking when you do stuff like this. Like, it just is so soft and supple a bike.
I wish they put the model name on the bike. There's nowhere that we could find where you could find the actual model name. So when somebody comes up to you and they're like, hey, what model is that? You're going to be like, it's a Game of Thrones with an A at the front.
It says Tenways everywhere on the bike. It says it here, it says it here, it says it here.
Here it tells you the alloy, 6061. It says M48, which is the Bafang motor, but it doesn't tell you the model name, and I just think that's a little silly.
Right, but so you're going to have to remember the name of the model when you call somebody up or if you're telling somebody about it.
Anyway, this to me, if you're looking for a relaxed road bike, it should really be on your list. It checks so many boxes. I am really pleased with it. It's the bike I'm going to be drawn to riding a lot.
I mean, I'm really impressed. I mean, we've tested out a Specialized bike with a mid-drive motor.
Yeah, the Cuomo 4.0.
And it was $4,000, so almost twice as much as this bike. It didn't have the Gates belt, which meant that the gears were going to wear out, especially with the mid-drive. Keep that in mind.
Oh, I mean, maintenance-wise, by the way, you're not going to have to touch that belt for, I think it's 12,000 miles.
And if you do touch that belt, you're not going to get any grease on your fingers. Really nice. So anyway, I'm very impressed with this bike. I only wish that this were like a big fat tire bike with full suspension, because I'm sure that would be my main bike.
Oh, did I forget to mention, it does have front fork suspension. So, I mean, it's really comfortable on most road stuff. You don't have rear, obviously, but it does soak up those little potholes that you hit.
Right. Again, don't take it off-roading. The tires are simply not made for it, but it's just mwah in terms of on-road.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let us know in the comments below if you have questions or if you have things you'd like us to review, because that's what we're here for. We review everything from e-bikes and e-scooters to e-composters and EV chargers and more.
Thanks so much for watching on Now Let's Review.